Hello everyone and welcome to the full series. This will be a movie-length video of my completed series of What If Videl Became a Half Saiyan. How would this huge change affect the story of Dragon Ball Z all the way to the manga? There is a title card on top where you can see the playlist to all my other full series if y'all are interested in watching. Now grab a snack while watching this or have it play in the background while you are working, and let's dive into the completed story of What If Videl Became a Half Saiyan. So we would start off at the beginning of the Buu Saga with Gohan still going to high school, meeting Videl, and even becoming the Great Saiyan Man. Videl would witness the strength of the Great Saiyan Man, and this time around Videl would be more interested in growing stronger to the level of the Great Saiyan Man, as she could tell something was off about him. Eventually Videl would still figure out that Gohan is the Great Saiyan Man and would blackmail him to train her to fly, but also to train her to grow stronger as well. They would begin training in preparation for the tournament, as Gohan would be training both Goten and Videl. This time around, however, Videl would be struggling a tad bit more, not being able to learn how to fly, and seeing Goten learning to fly with ease made her grew quite upset. Gohan saw how upset she was and tried to comfort her, but it was not helping at all, as Videl asked Gohan how he was able to grow so strong. Gohan still kept his alien origin a secret, Videl would say how she wished she could be like him, and this gave Gohan the idea, as he told Videl that there is a way to help her grow stronger, as Gohan went to gather the 7 Dragon Balls. They went together to collect the 7 Dragon Balls. As this bonding moment grew, their relationship much faster than it did in canon, and Gohan grew very clumsy around her. Once they collected all the 7 Dragon Balls, together they summoned Shenron, as Gohan was planning to wish for Videl's potential to be unlocked. But with Videl always being on his mind, he worded the wish improperly and granted another wish. Gohan wished that Videl was like him, and to Shenron he took that as making Videl a hybrid like Gohan. Videl didn't feel any different until she fell over, as her whole body was unbalanced. Gohan was confused as he went to help Videl up, and then that is when he saw a tail appear behind Videl. As he grew completely shocked, and it was even worse for Videl. Panicking, she yelled at Gohan, asking what he did to her. Gohan sighed and explained to her the truth about him and his father, learning Gohan is half alien and his father being a full alien. Then the truth of the Cell games was revealed to her, which made more sense than her father being the one that defeated Cell. Gohan was about to use another wish to revert the effects, however Videl stopped him. She thought that now she is a hybrid like Gohan, then she could possibly grow as strong as him, and even learn how to fly. So she just told Gohan that he will begin training her and to teach her everything he knows. Now, the time that Gohan trained Videl was never stated, so it could be a few weeks to a few months, so let's just give them 3 months. The first half was spent before the wish, so they would have another month and a half until the World Tournament. Gohan would contact Piccolo for help, as Gohan doesn't have much experience with training somebody else, so he would contact his own teacher. Piccolo would be quite shocked learning of the wish made by Gohan and Videl, but he would do his best to train her up with the short time he has. Now Videl will grow pretty strong given the short time frame, as she has the potential of Gohan, plus with how strong Piccolo and Gohan are currently. With her newfound power, she would train hard, as that was the only thing she would do, to become as strong as possible, especially once she sees how Gohan and Goten can go Super Saiyan, knowing that she could transform into that too. Piccolo would also notify her about the Great Ape form and to not look at a full moon. Hearing that, she would want the tail to be removed, but also because it would be weird for her to walk around with a tail. By the end of the month and a half, she would have a power level of 150,000, which isn't a lot compared to the rest of the Z Fighters, but she grew pretty quickly in such a short time. Gohan would get a little bit less rusty, as with Videl training so often, he did so as well. And as we saw before in Super, that Gohan doesn't need a lot of time to catch up, so I would say that he is at least stronger than what he was back in the Cell Saga, which is something as Vegeta did state when Gohan fight Deborah, that he was weaker than his peak back when fighting Cell. So moving into the tournament, when she meets Goku, she wouldn't be confused on how a dead man is alive, and the whole secret of Saiyans wouldn't be hidden. The one thing that is hidden is the fact that Videl is a half Saiyan. Well, Gohan would keep that from Vegeta, since he believes that if Vegeta knew about it, he would definitely be very upset. So progressing forward to the tournament, when Videl would fight against Spopovich, that fight would go completely differently, and the fact that she would completely destroy him. During the match, the more she fought, the more she enjoyed it, as her newfound Saiyan blood grew her love for fighting. Spopovich grew angrier the more they fought, and the more he got humiliated. Videl would be able to get a knockout on Spopovich, but Yama would not strike just yet, as Videl wouldn't have enough energy to release Buu. Gohan wouldn't get rageful, but I think Kibito would still ask Gohan to power up to see his true power. That is when Yamu and Spopovich would strike to steal Gohan's energy, as the Supreme Kai would use his magic to freeze Gohan, allowing his energy to be stolen. As then they would flee, while the Z Fighters including Videl would follow this time around, and she would be able to keep up with them, as they would all fly over to Babadi's lookout. Now events would play out similarly, with Dabura killing Spopovich, Yamu, and Kibito, and turning both Piccolo and Krillin into stone. Then they would all enter the building and fight the same minions that they did normally. But when Gohan fights Dabura, the battle would be closer and Vegeta wouldn't get so upset seeing how weak Gohan has gotten. I believe that Gohan would be able to beat Dabura, but would end up taking a lot out of him. Babidi would still need a bit more energy, and just in case, he would transform Vegeta into Majin Vegeta. Even if Gohan did train a bit more and not be weaker, I think the anger in Vegeta towards Goku would still be enough to fall in control of Babidi. Goku and Majin Vegeta would go fight in their own battle, to the disliking of the Supreme Kai. Seeing Gohan needing aid, that is when Videl would jump in, helping him to fight Dabura, and eventually beating Dabura, but also giving the energy that is needed for Buu to be revived. With Goku and Majin Vegeta away, all that was left was Gohan, Videl, and Supreme Kai left to fight off Buu. But without Dabura this time around. Gohan wouldn't want Videl to fight Buu as it could be too dangerous, but she wouldn't listen, wanting to help out. But just like in the anime, it will not work out well as they are not strong enough to take down Buu. With Gohan being preoccupied with worrying about Videl, he would struggle even more when fighting Buu, as all three of them would be beaten by Buu, and presumed dead. But the Supreme Kai would manage to save the two of them, and to keep them hidden until Kibito would be revived by the Dragon Balls to heal the two hybrid Saiyans, as the Supreme Kai would teleport all of them to the Supreme Kai planet. Now on Earth, things would play out the same even with the lack of Videl, but everyone would just believe that she is dead as well. But back on the Supreme Kai planet, they would begin their training. Now with their training, it would be a bit of the same with Gohan, except when pulling out the Z-Sword. With Videl around, I believe that they would mess around a little bit with the Z-Sword and break the Z-Sword earlier than canon, releasing the Elder Kai. It took a little bit over an entire day for Elder Kai to perform the ritual on Gohan to give him the mystic form. So in the meantime, Videl would be training with the Supreme Kai. Having Gohan's potential, she would go rather quickly and even learn the Kai before Gohan was finished with the ritual. By the time he was done with the ritual, Videl would want to start the ritual on herself to get her potential unlocked. Gohan having the mystic form earlier, he would return back to Earth early, around the time Gotenks is still fighting Super Buu. With his arrival to the battlefield, together both Gohan and Gotenks would fight Super Buu, and to be honest, he wouldn't stand a chance, as in canon, he struggled against Ultimate Gohan alone, and now he is facing both a stronger Gohan and Gotenks. Even if he managed to absorb Piccolo, I don't think it would be enough to beat Gohan and the fusion. So Gohan would actually be able to save the Earth and stop Buu completely with a combined Kamehameha wave from Gohan and Gotenks. However, even with Gohan saving the planet from being blown up, there are two downsides to this. Both Goku and Vegeta would stay dead now. Goku wouldn't be given the life force of Elder Kai since Gohan wasn't losing to Majin Buu, and in connection to that, Vegeta was only giving his physical body back because of the circumstances of Majin Buu. And to help Goku fight Buu, since neither of those things happened, Goku would stay dead and Vegeta would not get his physical body back, remaining dead forever. Everyone would use the Dragon Balls to wish back everyone who was killed by Buu, but Bulma and Trunks would have to grieve for the death of Vegeta, and how he will not be able to come back, and Goku would still remain dead. Even if the threat they faced wasn't because of him, but he saw how Gohan saved the planet without him, so he believed that the next generation of protectors could manage without him. Now, with the following years between Z and Super, things will change a lot. Videl did get the mystic form as well, as she and Gohan would train intensely for the following years, as Gohan now knows that it is up to him to protect the planet, and cannot rely on his father or Vegeta. So he will not slack on his training, and since his wife is also as strong as him, they will see massive gain in power. With Goku and Vegeta gone, Goten and Trunks would also take training a lot more serious, as they now know that they need to step up, as they will start off their training under Piccolo, but eventually would join Gohan in his training, leaving the Earth with only 5 fighters left, as the humans still weren't truly training with the exception of Tien. During the 4 years that would pass, Goten and Trunks would achieve Super Saiyan 2. Videl and Gohan still with their mystic form, and even Piccolo would have gone to the Supreme Kai planet to get his potential unlocked and to learn the Kai. Videl will slow down on the training because of the fact that during the Battle of Gods arc, she is pregnant, but she wouldn't keep it hidden from Gohan since they did train a lot since the Buu Saga, and if she just stopped training, it would be a little suspicious. We get into the Battle of Gods arc with the awakening of Beerus. with his dream of the Super Saiyan God. Whis would notify him that no pure-blood Saiyans are alive, which does upset Beerus quite a bit, but Whis would tell him about the 4 hybrids that do live on Earth. Beerus would still be displeased with this news and would hope, for the sake of the people of Earth, that these hybrids would be enough for his dream of fighting the Super Saiyan God. Now without Goku being alive, Beerus and Whis wouldn't stop at King Kai's planet and just head straight to Earth, giving the Z Fighters even less time to prepare for the arrival of Beerus. And even worse news is the fact that no one would even know about him, since the only person with prior knowledge of Beerus was Vegeta. I can see King Kai still giving them the warning of Beerus' arrival, telling both Piccolo and Gohan a crash course of the God of Destruction. I do see Goku being on King Kai's planet, but wouldn't be able to aid them without coming back to life. He does want to fight Beerus since he has been training during these years, but he wants to see how his sons and friends handle the situation first before jumping in. Gohan and Piccolo would notify everyone of their unexpected guests, telling them that how they should all act so they do not upset Beerus. Once he would arrive at the party, he would be greeted with respect as no one would want to piss Beerus off. The party would go on as usual with Beerus enjoying the party and more importantly, the food. However, that joy will not last forever as he asks the Hybrid Saiyans if any of them are the Super Saiyan God, but none of them would know anything about that. This upsets the God of Destruction as he was preparing to destroy the planet. This is when the Z Fighters would jump into action, but just like in the canon timeline, he would take them out rather easily. Goten and Trunks would fuse, but would prove useless even with them being stronger. Gohan, Videl, and Piccolo all tried to work together to fight Beerus, and for a little while he would be slightly amused by them, but still would be using zero to little percentage of his power. But he does give them props to Gohan as he does tell him that he is the strongest mortal here. Beerus would prepare an attack to destroy the planet until Gohan would hear the voice of his father, telling Gohan to use the Dragon Balls to learn about the Super Saiyan God. Gohan would quickly ask Beerus to give them a few minutes to ask Shenron about the Super Saiyan God. Once summoning Shenron, they would ask about the Super Saiyan God, learning of its origin and how to perform the ritual. However, even with Videl being half Saiyan and being pregnant, they are still down 1 Saiyan to perform the ritual. This is when Gohan would ask Whis if he could bring back his father back to Earth, and hearing that request, Beerus would demand Whis to do it so that he could fight the Super Saiyan God. So after a quick travel, Whis would bring back Goku as they would all have a quick reunion, but quickly begin the ritual, and this time around, with Gohan being the strongest fighter, he would end up becoming the Super Saiyan God to fight Beerus. Now with this new power, Gohan far outmatches Goku in the canon timeline when he obtained the God form, as Gohan has been training intensely for the last 4 years, and with the immense potential he has, his growth would be rapid, and not to forget that his training partner was Videl as she basically has the same potential as him, and also is a Saiyan, so that is saying that Gohan trained with himself for 4 years. The fight between Gohan and Beerus is on a completely different level compared to the canon Battle of Gods arc. Beerus would threaten Gohan that if he doesn't win this battle, then Beerus would destroy the planet, killing everyone he loves. This enrages Gohan as now he has a lot more to lose if he doesn't win the battle. Gohan has to fight for his friends, family, wife, and soon his own child. The rage building within him makes him explode with power, growing even stronger after the ritual boost. Fighting Beerus with everything he's got, being so strong that even for some duration of the battle, Gohan is besting Beerus. Beerus is very pleased with Gohan's strength as it allows him to go all out. Their fight goes all over the planet, leaving destruction wherever they fight. Gohan would see this and would bring the fight up to the atmosphere of the planet where no one can get hurt. Their fight would continue and I could see the God transformation lasting longer on Gohan than it did on Goku. Beerus would find Gohan to be a prodigy of a fighter and can sense how great his potential is during their match. The fight would continue on until Beerus could see that Gohan is being worn out as he would eventually lose the transformation and return to his base. Beerus was pleased with the fight as he told Gohan that he won't destroy the planet as he only said that so that Gohan would go all out, but he did take note that when Gohan gets enraged, he does become a lot more powerful. Beerus would bring Gohan back to Earth, telling everyone that he is satisfied with the fight and no longer wants to destroy the planet. But he did offer to train Gohan on his planet if he wants to grow stronger. Now Gohan wouldn't want to take this offer but would think about Videl and their child. But I see Videl telling Gohan to go on so that he can continue to grow stronger, as she would have liked to join but plans to take it easy for now, and when it's time she can always use the Kai Kai to teleport him when it's time for their child to be born. And maybe after a while she can get a babysitter to watch over Pan while they both go train on Beerus' planet. Goten and Trunks would like to join, but I don't see their mothers allowing them to go just yet, as they are still kids. So Piccolo would tag along with Gohan as he believes that the 2 young hybrids can protect the planet while they are gone. Also, side note, I would see Whis bringing Goku back to life after helping bring the Super Saiyan God. So with that, he would too join with his son and Piccolo to train on Beerus' planet to grow stronger. So with that, Gohan, Piccolo, and Goku would take their leave to begin their training under Whis, while the rest of the Z Fighters would remain on Earth, thinking nothing bad would happen, but what they don't know is that in a few months, they'll be facing an old enemy from their past. Now I do see all my comments of the first part about why Vegeta is staying dead permanently. Now in the original story, Vegeta was sent to hell after sacrificing himself. I mean, it makes sense why he did after the whole Majin Vegeta fiasco. He was given the chance to come back because of the situation with Majin Buu to help Goku. But since Buu was stopped a lot earlier on, King Yama wouldn't give that option to Vegeta, so he would remain dead in hell being reincarnated. I also did see a comment about saying how Frieza came back to life in Super, but to be honest, Super has plenty of plot holes and contradicts a lot of things that were stated in Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, sadly, for the remainder of this What If, Vegeta will not be making a return. Now where we left off, Gohan, Goku, and Piccolo all went to Beerus' planet for the last few months, with Gohan and Goku obtaining Super Saiyan Blue, and Piccolo close to obtaining a new form of power. Videl also gave birth to Pan, and after a little while she began her training once again. With having Gohan's potential, she quickly caught up for the lost time. As she also began training Goten and Trunks, as with the other three off-world, they are the strongest three on Earth currently. The remainder of Frieza's army would still manage to collect the Dragon Balls on Earth and manage to resurrect Frieza. Frieza would train up for the 6 months in order to grow stronger than Goku, as he still wants his revenge. The Z-Fighters will all sense Frieza's army, and some even recognizes Frieza's power as well. The Z-Fighter group that would fight off Frieza's army would stay the same except Piccolo and Gohan not being around, but they would be covered with Videl, Goten, and Trunks being around. With the additional help of the 3 hybrid Saiyans, and the fact that they are all stronger this time around, the Frieza soldiers wouldn't stand much of a chance against the Z-Fighters. Also probably worse for Frieza is the fact that Piccolo knows the Kai Kai. In the original story, Goku needed someone to be strong enough to sense their ki to teleport to Earth, which caused a little problem until Gohan had to power up so that Goku can sense his ki. Here, the hybrid Saiyans are more than strong enough to be sensed by Goku, but the difference with the instant transmission and the Kai Kai is that the Kai Kai will be able to teleport to a comrade regardless of how far they are, as the issue would be solved easily. With the arrival of Gohan, Goku, and Piccolo on Earth early, Frieza would get into a fight with Goku. This fight would go out as normal. Arguably, Goku could be slightly stronger this time around, and without Vegeta there wouldn't be an argument about who would fight Frieza. And without Vegeta drawing out the battle to torture Frieza and ultimately giving Frieza the chance to blow up the planet. Now with killing Frieza, I am not too sure if Goku would do that, as in the Resurrection F movie, he ended Frieza to stop him from destroying the planet again. But in the Broly movie, he spared him. Goku isn't the type to kill most of the time, so I think he would beat Frieza and spare him again, just making sure that he would keep tabs on Frieza. Continuing on with the story, I think Gohan would decide to stay on Earth to spend time with his family. For Videl, I don't think she would even have to go to Beerus' planet to continue training, as she could train with Gohan and grow from him. And since Gohan is very smart, I feel like he could try to pass down what he learned with his time training under Whis to Videl, Goten, and Trunks. Some more time would pass as Champa would pay a visit to Beerus while Goku and Piccolo were training. They would have their argument over which universe is better till Goku gave the idea on a tournament between the two universes. Now with building the team, Goku and Piccolo would participate in the team. However, with Vegeta and Majin Buu out of the picture, they would need to find others to join. Hearing about this tournament, both Gohan and Videl would participate, with Pan staying with Mr. Satan and Chi-Chi. They only had one spot left, but they had Goten and Trunks around, and they came up with the idea of using Gotenks to be the last fighter. With how strong everyone is at this point, Piccolo achieved a new form while training with Goku. Videl hasn't been able to achieve the God transformations, but was aiming for another form as she felt a stronger power within herself, as Gohan too sensed the same other form of power. Goten and Trunks grown stronger, but they themselves cannot transform into Super Saiyan gods, but they do have the God Ki and can sense it. And when fused into Gotenks, they can transform into Super Saiyan God form. With the lineup, it would be Goku, Gotenks, Gohan, Piccolo, and Videl. First matchup would be Goku versus Botama, which would end up the same with Goku throwing Botama out of the ring with ease. Goku would then face off against Frost, still making Frost transform into his final form, and that is when they would begin their fight. Goku this time around would be slightly stronger than his canon self, as he was dead for longer in this what if scenario. But he did have training partners like Gohan when he began his training under Beerus, so I would say it's safe to say that Goku is a little stronger than his canon self. Also to be noted, Gohan is the strongest one out of the group, as no doubtably he surpassed his father in strength. Goku would still be stabbed with Frost's hidden poison dart and be knocked out of the arena. Goten and Trunks would fuse to become Gotenks to fight against Frost. Now he knows there is a time limit to the fusion, so he cannot use Super Saiyan God right away without shortening their time in the fusion,
With the fight, Frost would actually be struggling quite a bit by trying to hit Gotenks with his needle. Gotenks is a type of fighter that has a unique type of fighting style that's being basically unpredictable. I believe that Frost would have trouble trying to find the right moment to strike. Piccolo would also see how Frost is cheating as he would spot the hidden needle, ending with Gotenks being strong enough to knock Frost out of the arena and advancing through the next round. Piccolo would also reveal the truth of Frost, showing that he is cheated and bringing Goku back into the tournament. Then Gotenks would fight against Automegeta, which honestly would be a really easy fight for Gotenks as it wouldn't take long for them to proclaim an insult to Automegeta, seeing that being his weakness, shooting out more insults until he would run out of the arena, being eliminated. Gotenks would then face off against Kaba. They would think that it's cool to see a Saiyan from another universe, but I don't think they would help Kaba learn the Super Saiyan form as they wouldn't be too good as teachers to teach how to get the form. And I'm not having Gotenks say that they get a tickly feeling on their back. I see it more plausible that Gotenks would flex and make fun of Kaba for not being able to transform into a Super Saiyan. Easily they would knock out Kaba without much effort and get into the final fighter from Universe 6. At this point, Gotenks is getting full of himself as when he would see Hit, he wouldn't think much of him, especially after seeing the fighting stance that Hit has. Gotenks would try to rush at Hit, trying to end the fight quickly, but that is when suddenly Gotenks would be punched right into the gut and be sent flying out of the arena. Everyone is shocked, not understanding what just happened as Hit never moved to attack. By the time Gotenks returned to everyone else, they defuse as their time limit has run out. They were kind of embarrassed and upset about how they lost easily, thinking that they were about to win the whole tournament. Gohan told them not to worry as he would win it for them. Gohan would step into the arena, ready to face Hit. Once the battle begins, Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan Blue form, not wanting to risk anything. Gohan is smart and wouldn't rush into the fight without knowing more about his opponent. They would be at a standstill until Hit would make the first move, but once he started his time skip ability, that is when Gohan can actually see it happen this time around, and even move his body, as when he was watching the fight in his base form, he didn't see it happen. With Gohan being a lot stronger than Ken and Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but he is not stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Goku stacked with Kaioken, so he wouldn't be able to break through the time skip. Gohan would be smart enough to figure out that if he was strong enough, he could break through the time skip, but he would struggle trying to fight Hit as nothing he did could allow him to touch Hit. He was growing angry that he couldn't stop Hit, but he knew that there was something stronger within him. During his time training on Beerus' planet, and with Videl, there was a power within him, and Videl as well. He felt close to achieving it but still lacked in something. He remembers back to when he was training with Goku in the time chamber for the Cell games, when he was trying to unlock the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. He remembers when his father told him that power comes from a need and not a desire. He felt the need for this power, that Gohan was the only one who could beat Hit and win the tournament for this universe. He got himself to remember those same feelings he felt all those years ago, as the situation seemed so similar to him, that everything is on him and he cannot lose. All the mixed up emotions allow him to break that barrier as he yells out, powering up, as a huge pressure wave explodes, blinding everyone, and Hit being pushed back a bit. Once everyone looks over at Gohan, the power everyone senses is immense, that even the gods are impressed. He would attempt to attack Gohan, using his time skip ability, but this time around Gohan breaks through the time skip completely, as he changed the tide of the battle, beating on Hit rather easily. Hit was not fast enough to counterattack Gohan with his newfound strength. Gohan would knock Hit out of the arena, winning the tournament for Universe 7. As they celebrated, that is when Zeno would arrive scaring the two gods, warning them that the tournament was against the rules, but he did find the matches entertaining, especially Gohan's new transformation, as Goku would give the idea of a tournament between all the other universes, as Zeno liked the idea, but then eventually they would leave and the others would return back to their respective universe. We look into the future timeline, seeing Trunks beaten, trying to fight this new threat, as he is very powerful, until he sees the smoke clears up, and that is when he sees a familiar face, a face that he thought he would never see again. As we look over to see Gohan Black, as Zamasu has taken Gohan's body, but not the Gohan Trunks knew. In the last part, Gohan revealed this new form he had acquired through his training, beating Hit and winning the tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7. Since then, Videl has been training a lot more as she too wanted to try to obtain that very same form of power. They continued to train on Earth, with Goten and Trunks while Piccolo and Goku were away on Beerus' planet. Goten and Trunks saw immense gain with all this training that they were doing. They mastered Super Saiyan 2 and were getting stronger separately so that their fusion would be even more powerful. A few months would pass since the tournament, and that is when future Trunks would arrive back in the present timeline at Capsule Corp. Bulma wouldn't call Goku and Piccolo since she doesn't really have the same friendly bond she had with Whis in this What If, but she would actually contact Gohan and Videl, as she knows that they are the strongest ones on the planet. Hearing the news of future Trunks returning, Gohan would head to Capsule Corp quickly, with the other three following behind him. Once arriving at Capsule Corp, Gohan would go check up on future Trunks, and when he would wake up seeing Gohan, he would try to attack him, thinking he was Gohan Black, soon realizing that he was back in the past. Our timeline Trunks is a bit weirded out, seeing a future version of himself, while Goten thinks it's pretty cool, not knowing that he doesn't exist in the future. Future Trunks would tell everyone what he has been up to in the future, with how he defeated Majin Buu to the revival of Gohan Black. Hearing that an evil version of himself is destroying the future shocked him, and even went to blaming himself, as he instantly wanted to help Future Trunks stop this threat. Future Trunks would ask about Vegeta, thinking about hopping into the time chamber with him to grow stronger. But that is when Bulma would tell him the news of what happened to Vegeta during the Buu Saga. Future Trunks remained speechless, hearing what his father did and how he is gone forever. He is pretty sad over it, as now he doesn't really have a father figure anymore, and wish he had spent more time with him. Before he could process the new information, that is when a portal would open up as Gohan Black would show up to this timeline, and spotting him, Gohan quickly jumps into action, getting into a fight with Gohan Black. This fight would be on par to when Goku fought Goku Black for the first time, just on a bigger scale, with the fact that this Gohan is far stronger than that canon Goku, meaning that this Gohan Black is stronger than Goku Black at this point in the story, even though Zamasu doesn't have full access to Gohan's power. Also, Gohan wouldn't be fighting Gohan Black to see how strong he is, like how Goku did. Gohan would actively try to end Gohan Black, but what gets him is his curiosity on how Gohan Black came to be. Without revealing who he is, he would tell Gohan how he swapped bodies with Gohan after seeing his strength in the recent tournament. And once he did have his body, he described how he killed Videl, Goten, Trunks, and Pan. Everyone was too stunned to speak, especially Gohan and Videl. They were frozen as they had to experience the fact that they had failed their newborn daughter in another timeline, and the fact that it was Gohan's own body that did so. Gohan Black took this time to his advantage to retreat back to the future to recuperate while they were all processing this new information. Goten would try to walk up to Videl while Future Trunks went to check on Gohan. But what they both saw scared them, as both Gohan and Videl had furious eyes filled with rage and a tint of redness to them. They both wanted to go to the future right away to deal with this threat. And Future Trunks didn't dare to say no, but he did ask if it was wise if Gohan's wife went with them. Here is when Future Trunks learns about how Videl accidentally became a hybrid Saiyan like them, with the wish of the Dragon Balls. So with that explanation out of the way, and with Future Trunks almost being a bit scared of being in the time machine with both of them, as he could feel the rage emitting from the two of them. Arriving to the future timeline, they grew more rageful, seeing all the destruction caused by Gohan Black. Gohan was so angry that he was barely able to contain it anymore, and soon would see Gohan Black in a smoke cloud as he would rush in, transforming into his beast form. But to his surprise, Gohan Black caught the attack, as when the smoke cloud disappears, that is when we see that he too achieved the beast form. After the near-death experience he got in the past timeline, the Saiyan DNA in his body kicked in and he got a massive Zenkai boost, and with Gohan's potential, he grew quite strong, even getting a new form. Gohan was in utter disbelief as he could tell that Gohan Black grew much more powerful than the last time they fought. Videl tried to jump in to help her husband, but then she would be struck by Zamasu. The two fights began as Future Trunks would try to help out as much as he can, jumping between the two fights. But seeing how outclassed he is against Goku Black, he would end up aiding Videl in her fight with Zamasu. I don't think it would take long for them to realize that Zamasu is immortal, as all of the attacks they throw at him doesn't seem to leave a mark, and how he isn't slowing down or showing any sign of getting tired. The fight between Gohan and Gohan Black shook the earth, as having two hybrid Saiyans with the beast form would create massive pressure waves each blow they connected. It got to the point where even the other three were struggling to fight against the force emanating from the two. Gohan wanted to end Gohan Black after learning what he has done to his family. He would have the edge of the fight, as still Gohan Black is getting used to Gohan's body, so he doesn't have full access to his power just yet. Gohan Black and Zamasu were getting upset that they were on the losing side, so they would end up resorting to using the Potara earrings to fuse, which shocks Gohan and Videl, as in this timeline this is the first time they see or even hear about the Potara earrings since they stopped Buu before Vegeta was even made. With Fuse Zamasu, they are able to overpower Gohan, beginning to beat on him easily. Future Trunks and Videl tries to help out Gohan, but they would be pushed back with little effort, not being able to do anything to help out Gohan. She would witness her husband getting very injured and would grow enraged. The new Saiyan blood that is a part of her DNA begins to boil. She never felt this angry before in her life. Hearing what someone did to her and her family, and now witnessing her husband get beaten badly, she isn't happy. All the training she has been doing since she became a half Saiyan and seeing how much she grew, seeing this transformation that Gohan obtained made her train even harder. But there was something missing, and that was the rage. She yells out as a huge burst of aura emerges and a light blinding everyone as she tapped into her beast form. She rushes into battle fighting Fusamasu, as Gohan followed her as together they would fight off Fusamasu. Now even though Videl isn't as strong as Gohan, the fact with 2 hybrid Saiyans with the beast form would make it much harder for Fusamasu to fight back, as he would have to focus on 2 fighters now, which gives Gohan the advantage to do some serious damage to Fusamasu. However, Fusamasu was still able to regenerate from any injuries. Away we see future Trunks, as all he could do was stand by and watch as people from another time are fighting for his future, because he was too weak to protect it himself. The rage and blame began to fill his mind. He didn't even have his father either, since he is dead in the past timeline as well. All the extreme emotions running through his mind allows him to break through his limits, going into his Super Saiyan Rage transformation, and helping out Gohan and Videl in taking down Fusamasu. With the combined force of the 3 hybrid Saiyans were strong enough to push back Fusamasu, as Gohan and Videl were distracting Fusamasu while Trunks would charge up his Sword of Hope attack. Future Trunks would rush at Fusamasu, attacking him with his sword, cutting him in half, as Fusamasu would explode. They all powered down as they were pretty exhausted and thought they finally ended Fusamasu. However, just like in the anime, Zamasu would return and completely cover the planet in his smoky face. The 3 hybrid Saiyans would all be pretty panicked, not too sure what to do now. With all 3 of them being exhausted and all their options being used, they would actually retreat back to the other timeline to rethink their plan. Once arriving, that is when they are met with Piccolo, Beerus, Goku, and Whis, as they are visiting Earth, as they would eventually hear about the situation about the future timeline. Which Gohan quickly explained what happened, and now they don't know what to do to stop Zamasu. Beerus and Whis learning that a Kai from another universe did this, they would go visit Universe 10 and spy on this timeline's Zamasu while leaving Goku and Piccolo to deal with the situation. With having an opponent they cannot physically beat, they are sitting there thinking, and that is when Goku would pull out his Zeno button, as he is still friendly with Zeno like he was in the normal timeline. Going back to the future timeline with Trunks, he would press the button to summon the Zeno of this timeline and tell him about Zamasu, ultimately with Zeno erasing the future timeline like what happened in the canon timeline, and now having 2 Zenos in the present timeline, like they have in the canon story. Future Trunks would thank everyone for the help of dealing with Zamasu, even though his universe was erased, as he would stay around for a while until Whis and Beerus returned. They would see Zamasu try to assassinate Gowasu, as they would step in stopping him and erasing him to prevent him from doing what he did in the future timeline. They would return to Earth and Beerus would express his disapproval with mortals messing with time and time traveling. Future Trunks would apologize and would say what happened and how they dealt with future Zamasu, even though it cost him his entire timeline. Whis would offer Future Trunks and Mai to bring them to a universe similar to theirs, but honestly Future Trunks would reject the offer, thinking that it would be best for him to stay in this timeline. With seeing how strong Gohan has gotten and with the lack of Vegeta around, he would like to honor his father by staying in this timeline to protect the Earth with the others, as he feels like he could be more of use here than going to a universe which isn't really his. With Future Trunks and Mai staying, they would stay at Capsule Corp, but Future Trunks wouldn't waste any time and would start training on Beerus' planet to learn Gaki, in hopes that he can get as strong as Gohan, and even get the form he unlocked when facing Fusamasu. Gohan and Videl continued training on Earth, but with Goten and Trunks, they would actually be allowed to go train on Beerus' planet, with Future Trunks and Goku. Some time would pass, as during a training session on Beerus' planet, both Beerus and Whis would be summoned by the Grand Priest, as they would all see the other gods of destruction and angels, as the announcement of the Tournament of Power is near, and that each universe would have 2 days to prepare to make their team of 10 to represent their universe in the upcoming tournament. Where we left off last time, Beerus and Whis were notified about the Tournament of Power, and how they had 2 days to form a team of 10 members from their universe. Obviously Gohan would still be the leader of the team because of his wits, but also with the fact that currently he is the strongest in their universe. Some obvious picks for their team would be Goku, Piccolo, Future Trunks, and Videl. They were a bit unsure with Goten and Trunks since they were still pretty young. However, with all the training they have been doing in this timeline, they would allow them to join in on the tournament. With that, they have 3 spots left. I believe Gohan wouldn't mind having the androids joining, as they are a good addition to the team with their infinite stamina. Future Trunks was a bit off guard seeing both androids that ruined his timeline be allies to them here and helping them save the universe, but He tried his best to put those versions of the androids in the past and see that these androids are different here, leaving the last spot open for any human Z fighter. Now honestly, with only one spot left, I do see that both Krillin and Tien would step aside to allow Roshi to be the last fighter of Universe 7. No doubt Tien and Krillin are stronger than Master Roshi, but I do see Gohan taking into account of experience and skillfulness. And with Roshi, he has plenty of experience and definitely has a lot of tricks under his sleeve. That he would be confident that Master Roshi would be a good pick for the final spot that they have. The team would be formed pretty quickly, leaving time to do some last minute training if they really wanted to. Now overall, this team arguably is a lot stronger than the canon version of Universe 7, even with the loss of two heavy hitters being Vegeta and Frieza. But this team consists of Gohan and Videl, who both have the beast form and are some of the strongest on the team. I would scale Videl, currently the 4th strongest, being under Goku and Piccolo, with the fact that she hasn't been training for that long compared to them. But her strength is pretty close to the two of them. But she does lack in skill that both Goku and Piccolo have. I would put Goku slightly stronger than his canon self, while Piccolo would be infinitely stronger than his canon self, since he has been training on Beerus's planet and does have his orange form currently. Future Trunks has grown quite a bit, but still only just started training on Beerus's planet, so he would have only the Super Saiyan God form under his belt. Goten and Trunks did begin training on Beerus's planet and already had a hold on God Ki, but still struggled with having the God forms in their separate bodies. But if they fuse, they could use the God forms pretty well and even learn to conserve their ki better to have the fusion last a little longer. With the remaining 3 members, they are relatively the same as their canon selves. After some preparations, they would all head out to the Tournament of Power. Certain members of our Universe 7 team would definitely have their eyes on specific people they spot from other universes, and once starting the tournament, I see the team splitting up. Goku would go off on his own, wanting to find the strongest opponents he could find, while I see the rest of the team would stay relatively near each other, not breaking apart too much. With this change in the team dynamic, I see a lot of the fights going very differently, but also Universe 7 would be on top of everyone's list on which universe to get eliminated first. I wouldn't think it would be crazy to say that Jiren would start fighting right off the bat, or at least when Gohan, Piccolo, or Videl go into their respective strongest forms. This team is pretty much well rounded, with the only weak spots being Goku going off on his own and wouldn't have someone like Vegeta that would also go solo with him, and Master Roshi, since he wouldn't really have someone to be a partner with, as with Krillin and Tien not being a part of the team, and Goku being the only other person he could work well with, Roshi is kinda left to fight on his own, with maybe occasional assists from others, and a small team up with Goku. I can see Goku wanting to train the Saiyans from Universe 6, but things would be a lot harder for them, with the fact that they don't even have Super Saiyan unlocked yet, since Kaba faced off against Gotenks in the little tournament between Universe 6 and 7, so Kaba couldn't teach the feeling of Super Saiyan to Khalifa and Kale. It would take a bit longer for them to obtain Super Saiyan, and honestly, they would struggle to achieve Super Saiyan 2. Kale would still go berserk, but I could see her calming down similar to Kanon, and with no other choice, Champa would give the Potara earrings to the 2 female Saiyans, having them fuse into Kefla. Seeing how Zeno allowed this in the tournament, I wouldn't see Zeno not allowing Goten and Trunks to perform the fusion dance to match with this new fusion. So with that, Gotenks would be facing off against Kefla, but he would need to be careful. Even though Kefla is somewhat weaker this time around, with not having the Super Saiyan 2 form, they do have a slight advantage against Gotenks, that being the time limit. Gotenks would have to be smart, as if he plays around too much or uses too much power too quickly, he could defuse before beating Kefla. While that fight is going on, Piccolo would be facing off against the Namekians from Universe 6, but he will be having an easier time against them once he shows off his orange form, beating them without any issue. He would then meet with Hit, as they would begin to fight. The androids would be fighting against Universe 2 on their own with little issues, and Roshi on the other hand would be struggling. He would try his best in fighting any opponents he can on his own, but with a lack of any fighting buddies, his stay in the tournament would be cut short, as there is only so much his tricks can do, when he lacks in strength, being the first one eliminated from Universe 7. I do see Gohan, Videl, and Future Trunks catch the attention of the Pride Troopers, specifically Jiren, Toppo, and Dispo, while Goku would be facing off against the rest of the Pride Troopers. These 6 would begin to have a face down, with Gohan fighting Jiren, Videl fighting Toppo, and Future Trunks fighting Dispo. Gohan and Jiren would be going all out right at the start, as when Gohan is in his beast form, Jiren can sense how strong Gohan is, and would charge up to his max power knowing that he cannot underestimate Gohan. Videl will be fighting Toppo in her beast form, and at the start, Toppo goes right into his God of Destruction form as the power coming from Videl is immense. With his power up, the fight is more or less equal for now. Future Trunks struggles a bit with Dispo even in his Super Saiyan God form. Dispo's speed is so fast that Future Trunks can't keep up or even be able to dodge the attacks. However, he does stay strong and begins to try to figure out a plan to take him out. Back to Gotenks, he is currently in a Super Saiyan form mocking Kefla, because yet they are still young fighters who enjoy playing around. Kefla does grow angry at being made fun of by little kids, and the anger allows them to reach Super Saiyan 2, as they would have the upper hand on Gotenks for a bit, until Gotenks would power up into their Super Saiyan God form, as then the tables are turned around completely. They would soon knock Kefla around with ease, and then knock them off the arena. Gotenks would power down quickly to conserve the time limit that they have remaining as they meet up with Kaba, being happy to meet him once more. Gotenks and Kaba would have a friendly little banter as Kaba would ask Gotenks that if they win the tournament, could they bring back his universe. And that's when Gotenks would realize how serious this whole tournament is. Away while they are discussing, we would see Frost sneaking up on them. He is still pretty upset from getting humiliated by Gotenks, the last time they crossed paths, so he wanted to take Gotenks out himself. Frost would prepare an attack that will send Gotenks out of the arena. However, Kaba would spot this and would jump in the way to save Gotenks from being eliminated, but Kaba would be eliminated by someone from his own universe. Gotenks would spot Frost and would be very upset, transforming into a Super Saiyan 3 form and rushing Frost, knocking him out of the arena very quickly, for trying to sneak attack him, and for taking Kaba out. Gotenks powers down and promises to himself that he will bring Kaba's universe back when he wins the tournament. At this point, a lot of the universes would be eliminated and erased, with the only remaining universes being Universe 6, 7, and 11. Universe 7 still has most of their fighters left, with only losing Roshi and 18, while Universe 6 only has Hit left, and Universe 11 with Jiren, Toppo, and Dispo. Piccolo would still be fighting Hit when Gotenks would join in to help Piccolo out, and even though Piccolo doesn't really need that much help, he still does take it. Knowing how Hit's ability works, Gotenks would power up to a Super Saiyan Blue form, and would go rush at Hit, but before landing the blow, they would defuse back and Hit would attack both of them, sending them flying away. This did give Piccolo the chance to sneak a rush attack right at Hit, being able to knock him out of the arena and ultimately erasing Universe 6. Piccolo would head over to Videl to help her out with fighting against Toppo. Future Trunks would have some help from Android 17 and Goku with fighting against Dispo. He was still very fast for them, however with now having to avoid 3 people in an area that is very destroyed, it grew a bit challenging for Dispo. Future Trunks would begin to power up, having the massive pressure of the whole stake of another universe on his shoulder. He did not want to fail this universe as well, the pressure pushing him to reach the Super Saiyan Rage form he obtained back when he was facing against Gohan Black. 17 would manage to grab a hold of Dispo, with then Future Trunks would rush in, sending a key sword attack right at the two, destroying the arena around them and knocking both 17 and Dispo out of the arena. Toppo would be soon eliminated, as he was already pushing his limits when facing Videl in her beast form, and then having to deal with Piccolo on the side, and now the rest of Universe 7 joining in to fight him. Knowing he cannot beat all of them, Toppo decides on something else. Not very heroic on his part, but his universe is at stake. So he would begin to power up, shooting multiple barrages of key attacks filled with Destroyer Ki to destroy the arena in a massive scale, as he would eliminate Goku, Future Trunks, Piccolo, and himself. His Hail Mary attack would give Jiren a chance to win the tournament. Videl would still be in the tournament, however she would be very injured as she did take a blast head on, as she would be in her base form, but she would rush in to help her husband to fight the last opponent they have together. Jiren already would be pushed to his limits, with just fighting Gohan, and now with Videl his chances are pretty slim, even if she's very weak right now. Just like how he did in the canon story, he would try to divert Gohan's attention elsewhere, but instead of Jiren trying to attack the eliminated Universe 7 members, he would send a full power blast right at Videl. Gohan would see this and head over to protect Videl, tanking the attack, shielding her, but it did damage him. Together they would rush over to Jiren as they would clash. With both Gohan and Videl very injured, the fight is close, but the couple was going beyond their limits as they are fighting for their family. In their head, the one person that they can think of is their daughter, and they want her to live a nice life. Being pushed, they would rush Jiren using a combination attack resembling their days as Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, telling Jiren that they are fighting for true justice. With barely any energy left, they would begin slamming Jiren down more and more, but Jiren would grab a hold of both Gohan and Videl, as if he was going to lose, then he will make the last members of Universe 7 lose as well. I can see Jiren having this mentality where if he can't win, then no one can, as all 3 of them would be eliminated. Universe 10 would believe that they ended the tournament in a tie, until the Grand Priest would announce that Universe 7 won, revealing both Goten and Trunks still in the arena as they are barely hanging off of a cliff of some floating rubble. With that, Universe 7 would be erased, as Goten and Trunks would think about the wish they want to make, and eventually settle with wanting to bring back the erased universes. With the Grand Priest pleased at this wish, making it and everyone going back to their respective universe, with the Z Fighters celebrating their victory and chanting for Goten and Trunks making the right wish. So after the events of the Tournament of Power, the Z Fighters continue on with their training, with Goku, Future Trunks, Goten, and Trunks all continuing their training on Beerus' planet, while the rest would stay on Earth. Gohan and Videl did slow down their training a bit, but not slack off, as they did want to focus on taking care of their daughter. After hearing the experience Roshi had in the Tournament of Power, Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha wanted to go back into training, as they would train with Piccolo to help them grow stronger. Now, getting to the events of the Broly movie, I don't see it happening. With the main fact that Frieza never was in the Tournament of Power, so he would never get revived by Whis, as he still remains in the other world in this timeline. I mean, he probably still has some of the Frieza Force around in space, but after the first attempt at them bringing Frieza back to life failed, I don't think they would try to do that again. So sadly, in this what if scenario, Broly and Paragus would be staying on planet Vampa for the foreseeable future, or even worse, the rest of their lives. So months would pass on, as during one day while Gohan and Videl were spending time with their child, that is when Bulma would contact them asking them to head over to Capsule Corp. Once they arrived, they would see Jaco and another Galactic Patrol member. Jaco would notify Gohan and Videl about their current issue, that being Moreau breaking out of the Galactic Patrol prison. He would tell them the history of Moreau, being a magical being that was so powerful that all of the Kais had to work together to stop him. Their original plan was to get Majin Buu, since he absorbed the Great Lord of Lords, and he was the one who could take away Moreau's magical powers. But since in this timeline Gohan did completely destroy Buu, their next best option is to go to the person who defeated Majin Buu. Hearing about the power that Moreau has, Gohan believes it would be best if he and Videl would go together to stop this new threat before he became too powerful, and just in case notify the others on Earth and on Beerus' planet. This is when Beerus would introduce himself, as they would begin to think of a way to stop Moreau. Now, Gohan being the smart fighter he is, he would want to figure out a way to stop Moreau quickly, so that he can absorb their energy before he becomes too powerful. However, Gohan would draw a blank, not really sure what they could actually do to an opponent they can't really fight. This reminded him of Zamasu and how he failed in Future Trunks' timeline, and did not want to fail again, or resort to the power of the gods. He would decide to go to Piccolo to see if he would have an idea on something they could do. Arriving at Piccolo's location, Gohan would see the training that Piccolo is doing with the other human Z Fighters. Once they spot Gohan, they would stop and learn about the new threat that is out in the universe. They start brainstorming possible ideas that they could do to stop him. Sadly, here they honestly wouldn't think about planet Yardrat. I mean, Goku did still train on that planet in this timeline, but it was only Vegeta who remembered about it. And I honestly wouldn't think that anyone else in the Z Fighters would think about planet Yardrat, so they wouldn't learn the Force Spirit Fission technique. However, they would all recall another technique that Gohan could utilize. Tien remembered the technique Roshi tried to use to seal King Piccolo away many years ago, since there was no way any of them were stronger than him at the time. With the type of opponent Moreau is, that would be their best chance at stopping Moreau. So with that knowledge, Gohan and Videl would quickly head over to Master Roshi's house to recruit him for this mission, while having Piccolo and the humans remain on standby if things go wrong. Meeting up with Roshi, Gohan would ask him about the evil containment wave technique to use against a new threat. Roshi would offer to teach Gohan the technique, but they were short on time and just asked Roshi to go with them to stop this threat, as they would leave Earth and go to Moreau's most likely whereabouts. In this timeline, with Frieza's forces still being around, I would believe that Moreau would find himself with one of Frieza's surviving soldiers, as he would tell Moreau about the Dragon Balls on planet Namek. So they would head over there and get a head start at finding the Dragon Balls before Gohan and crew would make it to Namek. A good thing here is that Videl does know the Kai Kai, which would allow them to teleport right to Namek rather quickly, saving them time. Once Gohan and the others arrive on the planet, Moreau already had a few Dragon Balls, but Gohan, Videl, Beerus, and Jaco would all face Moreau, but would be careful, already knowing that Moreau is absorbing their energy by just being on the planet. But their main goal was to distract Moreau. They would attack him in their base form, using close range combat, as they would work together attacking Moreau, making it quite difficult for him to recover. However, slowly Moreau was growing stronger by the minute, and Gohan and Videl were sensing how he was growing close to their power. They couldn't resort to their transformation as they would give Moro more energy to absorb. Moro would start using energy attacks to create distance between him and the group, as he wanted to give him more time to grow stronger. Soon Mirrors would have to hold back more and more, as being an angel in training, he could not interfere much with mortal issues. Videl would spot that Roshi is ready with the evil containment wave, so she made the risky move, as she would use the Kai Kai to teleport right by Moro, grabbing a hold of him, yelling at Roshi to shoot the attack. Gohan stared in horror, with the risk that Videl is taking to stop Moro, as he would fly over trying to stop her, but Videl would yell at him, telling him to stay back, as she knows what she's doing. Transforming into her beast form to make sure he could not break free, even though he was growing stronger with her excess use of energy. Roshi would throw the containment wave right at Moro and Videl as she waited, watching as the wave was heading right towards them. Slowly, her grip on Moro got weaker by the second, but right before the wave hit the two of them, she would let go of Moro, making sure nothing of her body was in contact with Moro, as she would use the Kai Kai to teleport out of the way as Moro was caught in the containment wave and sealed by Roshi. Roshi fell over in pain as the attack took a lot out of him, saying that if Moro was a bit stronger, he could have died once sealing him, but he will be fine for now, especially since a Namekian would be around to heal Roshi. They would give the container to Mirrors and Jacko, to allow them to properly deal with it and to prevent Moro to ever break out again. They would also go out to find the Frieza soldier, spotting him easily and taking him down, returning the Dragon Balls to where they were taken from the Namekians. Mirrors and Jacko would thank Gohan, Videl, and Roshi for helping them stop Moro, as the Galactic Patrol would host an award ceremony for them, giving them each a Medal of Honor for preventing a universal threat from getting too powerful. Now with Moro stopped a lot earlier, this would have many changes. I do see how some people may see this Moro arc being underwhelming, but with someone like Gohan in charge of stopping Moro, with the info he knows about Moro, he wouldn't be like Goku or Vegeta, just rushing in head first to beat him with strength. Gohan would definitely think of a strategy to take down Moro if they cannot overpower him, and luckily they were told about Master Roshi's evil containment wave. With Moro stopped prematurely, that leaves many events to not play out. Since he never made his wish of freeing the other prisoners, that would mean that the Granola arc would not happen. Without Android 7-3 being released, then Granola would never get the job to steal his remains for the Heaters, which also means that they will never learn about the Dragon Balls or the remaining surviving Saiyans to pin them against Granola. So basically the entire Granola arc would be prevented thanks to Gohan and Videl. Also, Mirrors would keep his true identity of being an angel in training a secret, and wouldn't lose his angel powers to become a normal mortal being. With all that said, they would just return to Earth to continue on living their lives and training. Soon Pan would be joining her parents in training, as she was growing close to the age that Gohan was when he first started training. Time jumping to the events of the superhero movie, we see that Pan is actually training with both of her parents instead of Piccolo this time around, since they are more into fighting in this timeline. I would say that Pan overall is a lot stronger, given that she is now half Saiyan instead of being a quarter Saiyan. With Videl having the Kai Kai technique, she would be able to pick up Pan herself from school without any issues, as Pan wouldn't be kidnapped by the Red Ribbon Army. I still see Magenta wanting to bail out Dr. Hito out of prison and give him the same story he did in the original movie to trick him into making androids to take out Gohan and the other Z fighters. Dr. Hito would make Gamma 1 and 2 and still go attack Piccolo first, but this would play out very differently. Since Piccolo already has his orange form for quite some time, he would be far stronger than the Gammas. And the fact that Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha are there often, they would be around there to fight the Gammas as well. It wasn't really ever stated how the Gammas were so powerful, so I am not too sure if they're like Android 17 and 18, where Jiro gathered data on the Z fighters and that's how he scaled the androids to grow strong. So I'm just going to bend the rules and state that they end up not doing the same technique, and Dr. Hito can just make the Gammas already really strong on his own, without data from the current Z fighters making the Gammas the same strength as they were in canon. With Orange Piccolo, he would easily take on Gamma 1 on his own, while the humans would face Gamma 2. For Piccolo, it was quite easy, as in the movie, once he did achieve his orange form, it was quite easy for him to fight a Gamma on his own, so this would just be brutal for Gamma 1. The humans have grown quite powerful with all their training with Piccolo, so I would say that together they could take on Gamma 2 and give him a run for his money. Gohan and Videl would sense the increase in power and would teleport over to the fight, seeing what is happening, even though they have it handled without needing extra help. However, Dr. Hito and Magenta would see the Gammas failing. Magenta would go to release Cell Max against Hito's liking. This would catch the attention of everyone as they do see a huge explosion away in the distance, so they would quickly knock out the Gammas and go check out what is going on. Meeting Cell Max, and honestly he wouldn't really pose a threat this time around. Everyone here is just so much stronger, and Gohan and Videl have plenty of experience with the beast form, and everyone else is just so much stronger that they would easily take down Cell Max without much issue. Learning about Magenta and Dr. Hito and their plans with the Gammas, they would go back to the Gammas, telling them the truth and allowing them to live freely and be true heroes around the world. It's nice that Gamma 2 doesn't have to sacrifice himself in this timeline and continues to live with his brother. Hell, they may even team up with Goten and Trunks in their adventures of being heroes. And that's going to leave it up for this series. Tell me how y'all think about the finale and how I did with the ending of Super. How do you feel about the Granola and Broly arc sadly being basically prevented? Do y'all think that having Videl being as strong as Gohan helps with making a lot of other arcs end sooner with less struggle? What do y'all think about this entire story as a whole? I like how in this What If focuses more on Gohan and Videl and seeing how well that they work together, giving Gohan a reason to train more and grow stronger with his wife. Next What If would be a remake of my first ever What If I've ever made on YouTube. What if Piccolo was never born? If y'all are interested and enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted whenever I post another part. Hope to see y'all there, and thank y'all so much for watching and all the support of this series. And I will see y'all in the next series. See ya.